Hi, this is Chris McKaylee, and in this video podcast, I wanted to focus on some interesting provisions of Assembly Bill 2406 that was in the 2022 legislative session. Now, it deals with intermodal marine terminals and amending Business and Professions Code Section 22928. Among several of its provisions, the bill proposed prohibiting an intermodal marine container provider from commencing or continuing free time if cargo is unavailable for retrieval and timely notice of cargo availability has not been provided. Now, the bill additionally specified that where certain provisions are addressed by future federal law or regulation, and the federal law or regulation permits states to exceed the requirements set forth in the federal law or regulation, that the more stringent provision is to govern. So specifically, AB 2406 added the following provisions to existing law. In F1, subdivision F1, it says, where provisions of this section are addressed by future federal law or regulation, and the federal law or regulation permits states to exceed the requirements set forth in the federal law or regulation, the more stringent provision shall govern. And then in subdivision F2, it says, it is further not the intent of the legislature to establish a reasonableness test under section 41102 of Title 46 of the United States Code as in effect on June 16th, 2022 for the agreement by commercial entities to rates, charges, or service requirements. And so these proposed subdivisions are interesting for several reasons from my perspective. First, subdivision F1 would require a more stringent provision to govern. Now, this doesn't happen very often, but we do find a similar provision in other stats on occasion, usually dealing with a state statute versus a local ordinance. I think this subdivision is particularly unique because it references future federal law or regulation, and it describes a situation between state and federal laws where preemption is not an issue. In other instances, when a California statute references a federal law, that federal statute or federal regulation is actually cited because the particular statute or regulation is currently in effect. Instead, this new provision of state law presumes that there will be a federal statute or regulation on the same topic. Moreover, this new provision of state law essentially assumes the federal statute or regulation will not only be acceptable, no matter what form the language takes, but also that it would govern in California, assuming it is more stringent. And by the way, what makes the federal statute or regulation more stringent? There's nothing in the state law that provides that. Second, when it comes to subdivision F2, that would provide a legislative finding and declaration to not establish a reasonable test. So it's said in the negative that would be required under federal law. I think this subdivision is unique because we rarely read a finding or declaration from the legislature in a bill that's stated in its negative view.